Hello everyone, and welcome back to Master Quest. My name's Christian Buckley. This is my first time playing through A Link to the Past. I am being guided by the gods and a fellow god himself, DJ Gillian.
Fellow god. I keep moving up. I feel like I think last week you called me Master or something like that. I think that was a thing. So I'm very glad to just continually move up on this chain of I don't know, deities, powerful beings, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm glad.
There's pressure on me because now I don't know what your final form is. When does it stop?
Where do you go from here? We're at part 6, and I'm already God. So we have nowhere to go. I don't know.
King of Thieves, perhaps.
Maybe.
We'll see. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Of course. I'm excited to be here talking Zelda again. This has been a great experience so far. Before we dive into the show, as I've mentioned before, I have conversed with other Zelda gods on the Zelda Reddits. We clearly loved the Helmasaur King last week.
Yes, we did. That was a very good boss.
Yes, it was. Great design, great image, just all
great
around
name.
Cool.
Yeah.
Both of us were distraught by the fact that it seemed to have never appeared again in future Zelda iterations.
Yeah.
So I posted on Reddit, and I got a couple people commenting.
Oh, is he in another game and we messed up?
No. Well, kind of.
Okay.
Commenting about our love for the Helmasaur King.
Okay.
LOZ Fanatic replied and said, there is a kind of similar boss called the Gemasaur King in A Link Between Worlds. It's supposed to be the Otherworld counterpart.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And someone else said that the Helmarock King is its cousin across timelines. Perhaps.
Yeah, the Helma. Oh right, that's the bird in Wind Waker.
Mm-hmm.
I had to dig there in my head. I was like, what? I know the Helmarock King. I know this, and then I got there.
That's impressive because we talked. I like Wind Waker a lot. I didn't know what the Helmarock was. But I knew you would know.
Wind Waker was like my first Zelda. I played that game so many times. I should have been on that.
Well, you were. That was a few seconds.
Yeah. It's cool too now I'm thinking about it because you beat that one with the big hammer in that game too.
That's right.
That's fight cool. It. That is,
What
very
a neat
cool.
series.
Yeah.
So
they should bring both of them back and have them fight.
Like Godzilla versus King
versus it's basically well, Helmasaur King would be, or the bird one. That one would be like Mothra in this version.
Okay.
Helmasaur is definitely Godzilla.
Yeah, definitely.
We need our King Kong Helmasaur.
Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
We need that last piece, the last third.
Exactly. Zelda loves threes.
They really do.
3 is their favorite number,
So this week, DJ, we did not do a 3, we did a 2. We did the second dungeon of the Dark World.
Oh, good segue. But it probably explored some before the dungeon, I assume?
A little bit.
I know I did some little things.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do on your journey?
So, the end of last week's episode, I did mention that I got my bearings a little bit more in the Dark World, and I got the shovel from the creature in the forest grove.
Yes. The weird dude with the nose.
Yes. So he said I lost my flute. So I tried transporting back right next to him to where the area was where I saw the nymph going like ba-da-da-da-da, and then disappearing.
And the cool animals.
Yeah, so I transported there. He did his little animation, and then as soon as that animation ended and he hopped away, I couldn't move and I got zapped back to the Dark World. So I kind of gave up on that.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Because I
did do that section.
Oh, you did?
So, it is. It's a little obtuse how you're supposed to solve that puzzle.
So, I want to pitch this to you, and you can either you can be as vague as you'd like.
Okay.
In my head right now, what I'm supposed to do there is I go to that grove in the real world, and I just dig around until I find that flute.
You were on the right track, yes.
Okay.
There is one specific spot where it is, and you gotta find it. Okay. So it's one of those things where like you could dig for like 10 minutes, and be like, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it? And then like you figured out the puzzle on your own in your head. Just look up the location and dig that one spot. Save yourself 5 minutes of your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So next
and then
week we can pick up.
When you go back, like there's, because obviously like you're gonna try playing the flute for everyone, right? Like it just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a cool little tidbit that happens there. I really like this little thing. I think at the top of this show we talked a lot about like, because I said there was like side quests in the game, and like they're not like side quests, but there's like these little stories like this one that I really really like.
Mm-hmm.
These like little things that aren't like full on things, but they're very fun and very some of them like hit, like this one kind of hits hits home. So I would recommend finishing this one up. Also, you get to do a cool thing when you get the flute. That's all I'll say. So
I know there's not time travel in this game, right?
No, there's not time travel.
Okay. Because Zelda loves threes and they love time traveling instruments.
They do.
So yeah, I will definitely go back for that and finish that as soon as I can, probably before I do the next dungeon.
Yeah.
I also, again, I tried to go to Kakariko because I'm really curious what that looks like in the Dark World.
So you can't go to Kakariko yet? Is that what you're saying?
From the way I tried to get there, no.
Huh.
The way
I thought you would have been able to now.
The way I went was from the Grove area to where the Brothers with the Bomb House wall was.
Yep.
And the little race mini game, the maze thing.
Right.
I went that way.
Okay.
It was a slightly darker boulder that I could not budge.
Yeah, okay.
And that was the path to Kakariko.
Huh. Well, the third dungeon is in Kakariko, so we're...
Oh.
Yeah, so we're going to go there.
Okay.
I feel like you could get them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have to use the hook shot or something that we eventually get here. Spoilers. I'm not entirely sure or remember anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, that will be interesting. Yeah.
And finally, I did try the two little mini games in this region.
Ooh, nice.
There was the digging mini game, which I don't understand. Is it just luck?
Yeah. So you're digging around and you just have to like find stuff? Like it's not like you have to dig a whole map or something?
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
Like, is there a certain item I get from here? Or is it just I get rupees?
I don't remember specifically. There might be like there wouldn't be anything more than a piece of heart if I don't remember it. Yeah, it wouldn't be that big of a deal for sure.
Because I tried that a couple times and then I gave up because I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I also tried the bow game.
Okay. Where you gotta like hit the moving target. Is that the one in this game?
Yes, there's the hands in the front row, and then there's the Octorok looking things in the back row.
Okay.
I hit 4 out of 5 shots.
Nice.
Couldn't get the fifth, but that was a
fun
fun
one. For it?
Just rupees. They stacked. There was like a
rupees?
multiplier, I think, for how many you hit.
Nice. And you probably already hit like a stacked wallet again, so it didn't matter that much. But
yeah.
But
yeah, after that, I looked at the map. I saw the second dungeon was south. I went south to the area in the overworld that I was fond of, with all the statues lying around.
Yeah, all the like broken down statues. Yes.
And on a whim, I walked in there. I was like, "Oh, I wonder what this is like here." And then I heard the dungeon music playing, and I was like, "Oh, this is it."
Yeah. Could you do the dungeon at this point, or did you have to start going backwards? Because there's a little thing here, right?
I was able to... Oh, yes. Okay, so I can enter the dungeon, but I had to go to the light world and then do that little block puzzle.
Yeah.
Then pull the switches again. Another switch trap. They were trolling me again. One was water, one was something else. I left the room before they fell.
It was bombs.
Oh, bombs.
On you. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is brutal.
It is. I got hit by it. It took like 3 hearts off. I was like, played this game like 6 times in my life. Still can't get this switch right. What was wrong with me?
Yeah. I wonder. I can't remember because, of course, at the beginning of the game when we get to Sanctuary, there's that final puzzle. It's like pull the lever. One of them's snakes. One of them's the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forget which one dropped the snakes, but the bomb one here was the left, and I think the left one might have also been the snakes.
I think you're right. I don't know.
So that's just
that would be funny if they just made it the right one every single time in this game. That would be really funny, actually.
Yeah.
And it's like you would still get it wrong half the time. You would never guess they're doing that. Like I would totally just like pick left every now and then, even after repeated playthroughs. I'd probably never notice.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And it's funny the way they play with your expectations, because about like halfway through this dungeon, there's a hallway where there's a path blocked off by 4 blocks. They're making a Y shape. And I tried to push them around. I couldn't. I was like, I know how I would fix this puzzle, but they're not moving. And you have to do another water raising trick.
Right.
And then, like, one hallway later, there's the same Y formation, but that time you actually push them. So.
Yeah.
They love trolling.
They do. One thing about this dungeon, before it starts, really, this is a minor thing that I really like that they do here. How they very slowly introduce you to what the Dark World is going to be, and like the kind of mechanics that's going to entail, because the first dungeon, like, it's very straightforward, or the dungeon itself is not straightforward, but the way you get there, how it leads you on, like, it's very much like, okay, here's what the Dark World is.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it immediately is like, here's the mechanic you're going to use to explore for the rest of this game, pretty much, which is the switching between worlds and having different things affect different things. I think it's really smart that they introduce you to the Dark World the first time, and then as soon as you get out, to get to the next dungeon, you need to figure out that you can switch worlds, and you need to figure out, like, how you're going to use that to your advantage, how you're going to use that to solve puzzles. I think it's very smart the way they did that. I really like this is the dungeon they chose to do that. I think that was smart of them.
Yeah, I liked that a lot in terms of the game owning its, not like capabilities, but maybe its gimmick. Because we talked with the desert dungeon about how it was really cool that they made you go outside of the dungeon and like figure things out there and then go back in. This I think is even cooler because it is taking advantage of what makes this Zelda game this one, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that.
For sure. I think just as a little tip, I like, it's trying to teach you this, and I think you got it, but just as a little aside, this is like the most important thing I think for like enjoying the overworld stuff from now on, I think, and like just knowing that this is an option. Like, there's so many spots in this game where just like, that bush looks weird, let me just try this out and see what happens when I transition, and you'll find something cool. Like, this is kind of like the main mechanic that you're going to want to be using, so I would definitely give that a go.
I had a feeling that would be returning when we were up at the top of Death Mountain right after I got the mirror, where there was like the diamond shape in the grass. Yeah,
that's another thing where like they do that immediately. Just like, hey, you should be doing this. You should be looking for things like this all the time.
So I'll definitely keep a sharper eye for those now that I know they're legitimately going to be important.
Yeah. Anytime you see a weird bush, just try it. And most of the time, you're actually probably going to be like, oh, I got on this ledge that I couldn't get to before.
Okay.
And the other worlds. So that would be cool.
Noted.
Yeah. But now we're in the dungeon now.
Yeah.
I think, safe to say.
So, quick question.
Yes.
Does this count as the water dungeon of this?
This is the water dungeon of this game. So you got it out of the way. If you were scared of more water dungeons.
No,
because they're always the bane.
I think this is my favorite dungeon so far.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. because I think it took me like 25 or 30 minutes. It was like one of the more straightforward, like I understood what was going on. I felt smart figuring out everything.
Yes. Yes. You were hitting it for me.
The hook shot was the item. It worked great with the boss. Yeah, like everything came together very well in this dungeon. And from weeks prior, I feel like that for me in a Zelda game, the dungeon coming together from its ideas of the puzzles, the item, and the boss is like super important to me. And I think here it worked really well.
Nice.
Yeah, and like even the water puzzle aspect of it, like it conveyed what it needed me to do. I thought better than some of the other puzzles. In other dungeons.
You always knew because one, they teach you before you even get in to get into the dungeon, you have to learn, hey, you gotta be changing this water. Like this water can't be here all the time. You know, you gotta be moving this stuff. And then also as you're going, you see the drains, like they're there.
Yeah.
Which is a really nice little touch to be like, hey, you can do this. So yeah, I totally agree. One of my top notes, because as I was going through it so fast.
Yeah.
And my note of it was just like, this dungeon isn't hard. Some of the enemies do give you a little bit of trouble, but like puzzle wise, I don't think this is a very hard dungeon. It is one that is just satisfying.
It's very engaging.
A weird way. Yeah, it's just it feels like the perfect mid-game dungeon where it's like you understand everything at this point and you were able to use all your tools effectively at this point. And it's like that reward of just like feeling like you own it, like you own this dungeon, even though like it kind of makes you feel powerful and smart in that way. And even if it's not necessarily challenging you as much as some of the other ones, puzzle wise, I just think it's really satisfying the way it just, all of its puzzles just bleed into the next ones very easily. They give you the map and the compass earlier, which I like. I like being able to look at my map and just like see, okay, where do I go next if I'm ever stuck? It gives a nice flow to it.
Yeah.
And hookshot dungeons are always cool.
Yeah,
like just being able to zip around a room. Yeah.
I don't think they like rely on any gimmick here either. Like, gimmick might not be the right word, but the previous dungeon had the bombing stuff and the switches, right?
Yeah.
And with the bombing stuff, it's like you're normally bombing stuff for secrets. You're not bombing stuff for progression.
Yeah. Especially in the older games where it's like bombs are not like an item you find.
Right.
Like they're just in the world immediately.
Here, though, it's like there's that specific instance of the room you go up the stairs. I forget which floor it is, but it's a room that's just all water. You can walk through it. There's the fire spin going around, and then on the north side of the room, left and right, there's the little push block, and then there's a pit.
Yes, I do remember what you're saying now.
Because like you want to push those blocks, and because it's blocking that, and at this point, yeah, you know you can survive falls, but
yeah,
I think that conveys what they want you to do there so much more. Because if it's just the reward for pushing that block away because you can't push it, it's just a pit. Might as well jump, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to
try it out.
Get it across. And rewarding me on the left side, I think it was with a bunch of rupees, and then on the right, it was maybe the compass?
Yeah.
Or the boss key?
Sounds right. Yeah.
It was one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like it had a lot of mechanics that were introduced previously, and it presented them in ways that I thought made more sense and just flowed fantastically.
Yeah. I like the puns we're using here with the flow. That's good.
That was unintentional, but I'll take it.
How did you feel about the hook shot in this one? This is the first appearance of the hook shot, I believe.
Yeah.
Every time I say first appearance, I'm like, was this in Zelda 2? I never finished Zelda 2, and it's been a long time since Zelda 1, but I'm pretty sure this is the first appearance of the hook shot. So how you feeling about that?
I like it.
Yeah?
I think my favorite hook shot, well, if we want to get weird with it, I think my favorite hook shot is the one in Smash. But
Okay. Yep. Yep.
the Twilight Princess hook shot, the dual wield.
Yes, the dual wield's very good.
Love that. This is good. This is good. I like this one.
Yeah.
Um,
Were you trying to in combat at all? Or?
I did.
Yeah, because it's surprisingly useful.
Mm-hmm.
I like using it more than the boomerang for stunning, personally. But
once I realized I could use it for combat, I switched from using my bow and boomerang to this, because there was a point in this dungeon, as much as I love it, there was a point that was like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? And it was the waterfall.
Yes, I did the exact same thing, and
so I had to look it up.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, because I was clueless. I was walking around this dungeon for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just trying to I was pushing all those blocks from every angle. I died twice trying to push them because those water bubbles kept coming, and I was like, where am I going?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I looked at it from the way of, there was that secret block that gave me the chest, and then there was 6 other blocks in the row, and then there were all those waterfalls. I feel like I would have made the connection eventually.
Yeah.
But that was the one thing that stumped me here.
Yeah. The way I made the connection, the way I think you're supposed to, it's not something that's super introduced in the past of this game, but it's something in general that I think Zelda games preach at you, is to use the map in your favor. Because if you go into the room with this waterfall, you can see, there's an exit on the right side. There's a path forward that I'm missing.
Okay.
So you can. That's how I figured it out, because I was getting a bit stumped too, and then I checked the map and I was like, I think there's a thing over here, and then I went back down and I'm like, okay, you just walk through that waterfall. It would have been nice if there was a little bit of a visual thing, like the other waterfalls in this game, where you can kind of see, there's a path forward there if you're looking. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's this isn't game breaking for sure.
No. I don't blame them for any. I don't think it's anywhere near as intense of a jump as in Ocarina, when it's okay, walk through this wall now,
Yeah.
But
okay, yep.
He here, because the thing is, I know, and I found this out earlier because I've played a game or two. Waterfalls have things behind them usually.
Exactly.
But I guess I just didn't expect them to use it again. I don't know. As look behind the waterfall, Because I did find something. I think I found the fairy that boosts your gear behind a waterfall previously.
Yes, we found the Great Fairy out there.
But yeah, I really like this dungeon. The boss, I think, uses the item very well.
Yes.
I don't know, it's the design is fine. I don't know if I like it, but
yeah,
it's visually, it's just a weird Metroid looking thing with cotton balls.
Yeah, it looks like Mother Brain.
Yeah,
with weird stuff going on. Yeah,
the way you interact with it is really cool. I like having to rip those off and kill them individually. That's fun.
Each one individually, it's really satisfying. Did you encounter the bug in this game where you get hit, the one angle when you use the hook shot on it, you get hit when you take it off, or no?
I think that happened the first, the first thing I did in this dungeon or in this boss fight. I think I shot it at it instinctively, brought it to me, and then it killed me.
Yeah. Oh, did you straight up die?
Yeah, because I had half a heart. I had a fairy with me, but
that's very fun. Yeah, this is the one thing where I'm just man, that sucks. And I don't know how game development worked in 1991. I imagine it was hard. It's still hard. But it does kind of suck that there's this little glitch where you can't do it head on, or else you're gonna get hit every time. Yeah, you need to. I don't think it's every time, but I think most of the time, if you're a certain distance away, stuff like that. If you do hook shot it, it'll hit you. But if you do it from either sides of the back, you're fine, which is just what I do to be safe. I just okay, I'm gonna stick to the sides here and take it out from that way. So that does kind of suck, but I do like this boss as well. I like how it's got 2 phases, which is a very thing we take for granted now in bosses. and especially in Zelda games.
Mm-hmm. I was playing
but this
Bloodborne
is kind of
earlier.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of like the start of like that idea. There's definitely more phase bosses in like older NES games, but I think for this franchise, like phase bosses have become so synonymous with this franchise, and like the ideas of using items to take them out, like stuff like that you get in like these early games. Those are things that have bled into games widely, just every genre, everything. Like, and this is the first game that kind of does that, and it's doing it with pretty much all the bosses where there's two phases. This is one that this is probably my favorite, like switch them up between the phases, because the first one's just like kind of weird and like kind of makes you laugh, but also like it's not that hard, but like it still is satisfying to like figure out like, okay, I gotta use my hook shot here. And then the second part is like very different, where like, oh, this guy's moving fast, like I gotta figure this out, I gotta stay on my feet here.
I wondered too,
I like that dichotomy.
If like, because you know how like in like Mario games, you know, at least more recent ones, I guess, like since 64, it's always like hit the boss 3 times and then it's either over or it's the second phase and hit him 3 times again.
Yeah, totally.
I'm trying to think, some of the other bosses in this game, I think like when it came down to the final statue in the first dungeon, did you have to shoot it 3 times and then you won?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't think that's a trend in this game. Yeah, like, this one you definitely don't.
Like in the second phase of this one, I thought the 3rd time was going to kill it, because it radically shifts, like you said, from sort of fighting ads, I guess, to like just the singular boss. So I was like, oh, okay, 3 hits and it's done, because I already had to deal with that other stuff. But this was 4, which that was interesting.
And it also gets weird too with this game, because your spin attacks do more than your regular attacks, which is how I handled this boss. I don't know if you did.
I did something very different.
What did you do?
I used the ice rod.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably works out pretty well.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I think about it.
Because it was, I guess the connection I made was like, okay, water, this guy's moving very fast. He's a squid. Maybe the ice rod will freeze him. Because I did try the ice rod on a different boss and it didn't work. But here.
I like that you're thinking like that. I won't spoil what happens later, but there is a boss that you use the ice rod on. So I like that you're like just, I don't know, experimenting. Like, oh, this makes sense. Maybe we'll try this.
Because I remember you said getting the ice rod was important for later on. So I didn't know if this was it. Because I really didn't know what to do. I tried shooting it with the bow. I tried using the hook shot on it individually. It was too fast for me to hit it with my sword. So the timing.
So it only took you 4 hits with the ice rod? Huh.
The time
I think it took me like 4 or 5 with spin attacks. So that is like a good way of beating it. They probably thought out like, hey, the ice rod should do extra damage to this thing. Like, that makes sense. That's cool.
It was difficult with the timing, because like it ended up working out, because like I was trying to like hit it the way you would hit moving targets with the bow, of like just waiting for it to line up, but the best way to do it ended up being you have to hit it the first time it lands, because that's when it's stationary, and you can kind of plan on where it's going to be because it lands on a prior place you were standing. So you kind of have to chain it. Yeah. But it works.
Huh. That's very smart, actually. Because when I do it, when I'm using spin attacks, you basically have to let it come to you, because like when you're holding your attack button, like you move much slower. So you basically have to like position yourself out and like, okay, he's gonna get to me here. So yeah, that's interesting. That the ice rod seems like the way to do it.
Yeah, I thought that was the right way to do it, but it's cool that there's options.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I really like about this game, is that you can just use the sword and just wail on stuff, and you're kind of good. Like, you'll make it through the game totally fine. But if you are experimenting, if you are like trying to mess around with its tool set, it rewards you. Even if it's not explicit, like you would have never known that. You doing that, you would have never known that like 95% of the population that played this game probably didn't do that. Yeah. They probably just like, I'm just gonna hit it with the sword, or the hook shot is in this dungeon. I guess I'll just see what happens there. So
You know,
it's not like telling you, but like it's still cool that those are all options that they're there for you.
you know, like having this conversation about this specific boss and what we talked about previously, because there's been a couple other occasions through our playthrough where there's been a clear option. There's been things you could miss. I'm trying to think of the other Zelda games I've played. So like Link's Awakening, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, specifically. I can't recall there being like other viable options.
No.
So, because like Breath of the Wild, yeah, that's game's thing. It's like,
it opens it up. Yeah.
It's like do it the way you think it's gonna work, and odds are it will if you think it logically makes sense. So I wonder if the Ice Rod thinking was a result of the Breath of the Wild approach.
Yeah.
You know, because like I don't think I would have thought of it that way if I was playing Ocarina for the first time after Breath of the Wild. You know.
Yeah. And this is the weird thing that the entire franchise kind of ran head on into, and which is why Breath of the Wild is what it is that the franchise starts, and to this game it is very much about experimentation. It's very much about exploration, and the later games, by nature of like the difficulty of making games in 3D, they linearized themselves and tried to like guide you, and there's a lot of great things about those games. Like we've been through our Zelda history. It's like we love those games, but it is very cool that we got back to this eventually, and I think this is part of why I like this game. This is part of why it's my favorite, is that I much prefer this design approach. I don't think one begets the other. Of like, you got the bow in the dungeon, better use the bow on the boss. Like I don't see how. I get why that is like a game design rule that like we have and like something that's utilized. I don't see why that's better than use whatever you want. Like use what you think works. We're gonna make it work for most things, and we're gonna give you like added bonuses for like if you figure out the ice rod's probably gonna freeze this water dude. If you figure that out, it'll probably work for you. I think that is a much preferred design choice for me, and I think it's awesome that I think it's very cool to go back to this game and see how like it's very cool to go back to any of the old Zelda games after you've played Breath of the Wild and be like, oh, like Breath of the Wild was not changing things, it was going back to something.
Yeah, that's cool, because I remember when it came out, a lot of people were drawing it back to the first one of just how open it was, but like obviously from what I've played of the original Zelda, which is not much, I think A Link to the Past still is much more linear than the original Zelda.
Yes, yeah.
But seeing that the freedom, like whatever level of intentional it was in this game, like seeing that flexibility that we're talking about right now is kind of surprising. And I think I think it's just like the direction the series went. I think you're right, because like the next 2D game was Link's Awakening, which had to be scaled back because it was a Game Boy game, and then Ocarina, which blew things up in 3D and had to be more linear. Yeah, it's interesting.
Could you imagine if they tried to do this in Ocarina, their first time making a 3D game? It would have been impossible. Like, I totally respect what they did with the franchise. Yeah.
And then 2D after that just went to Capcom. So they did their thing with it, but
and they crushed it. They did.
But yeah, really good dungeon, really fun boss, and another tidbit of lore I have to ask you.
Yes. Okay. We just keep hitting again. This is gonna be a theme where we just keep getting ore dumps after dungeons. Yeah, so
I figured. So you mentioned that this is the first game with the hook shot, probably.
Yes. Pretty sure.
The maiden here. First off, it sounds like she has just been living in the dark realm. Like she hasn't been in the light world, because she was like, that's why I was sent to the Golden Land. So if she's been here since it was the Golden Land.
Huh.
Whew.
Yeah. I didn't even pick up on that. That's interesting.
But that's not my question. My question is, is this the first game where there's a distinction between Ganondorf the Thief and Ganon the King of Evil?
I think so. I think in the first game he's just called Ganon. It's very weird how this game does it, because like there is no Gerudo Desert, and it's like there's no...
Like there's the thieves that I was kind of wondering if they were almost like a weird analog for the Gerudo.
And they say in this one that like he is the king of thieves, so like I guess he was the leader of their clan. Like he's not the leader of the clan, but I guess he was involved in somehow. That would be my guess, because like this Dordom makes... I made this note too, because this makes it very explicit, just like he was Ganondorf, and now like because of him stealing the Triforce, he's more like Ganon now, and like that's kind of like the jumping off point for that. Very strange how it's probably one of those things where they were not thinking about this at the time, and then as we go on in the series, and as we go to Ocarina, where like there is a distinction, as we go to why can't I? Whatever. As we go to Twilight Princess, where like there is a clear distinction. It is weird that like they were thinking about that, but didn't know what to do with it yet. And now that we played those games, we look back and we're like, this is weird. Yeah.
I'm trying to think too, because like calling Ganondorf the Thief King or the King of Thieves, I knew that about him. I don't know from where. It might
He's
have
referred
been
to that in Ocarina as well.
Okay, was he? Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because he was like the king of the Gerudo.
And were the Gerudo like just branded thieves?
Yeah, they were like banned. They're supposed to be like thieves
in
that game, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm interested to see again what Breath of the Wild 2 does with all of this, because it seems like Ganondorf is back. So.
Yeah.
But that...
I'm interested to see when they bring back the Helmosaur King. This is really interested. They
have every opportunity.
I know.
So that was like the meat and potatoes of the episode of the week. There were a few small things I tried to do after I finished the dungeon.
Okay.
I went back for giggles to this average man, now that I know his true nature. Nothing happened. I know you said that there was something that would direct me back there later, but I wanted to try.
Yeah.
In the central area where this dungeon was, I was going north, and I saw the pegs with the hammer.
Right.
So
I was hit this.
And I believe I was in the light world when I found this.
Yes.
I broke that down, went over, picked up the rock, and saw a warp pad. Warped. Back in the dark world.
Yep.
I didn't find anything. Like, any secret there? Like, any...
No.
So I didn't think that I would be rewarded for that, because it was kind of like... Not obvious, but like if you hit those pegs, you know something's there, so you lift up at what's there. You like remove the things hiding the rest of the environment. So it wasn't a clever thing, but
yeah.
Is that just like another shortcut back there? Is that what that is?
Yeah, basically. There's a bunch of these scattered throughout the world, and you are going to need them actually in certain points to solve certain like ways to get to certain places.
Okay.
This might actually be the way to get to Kakariko, actually, now that I think about it. Because you'll warp somewhere, and then like maybe you can't get back to your warp point for whatever reason, like depending on where it is, and then like you have to figure out your way back, because once you warp, you know, like you can't just hit the mirror again. You have to get back to your little sparkly thing, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a way to like, reset. Like they're all scattered all through the world. You will need them for sure for some upcoming stuff. That's another thing too, what this dungeon does, or this segment does, introducing you to this concept too, to familiarize yourself with like how traversal is going to work here. And even if it's not useful yet, even if it's just like, I guess it's another way to get there, it's good to know, because like if you transport at like Hylia and then you come back here, I'm like, I need to get back to the dark world. I don't want to walk all the way back there, then walk all the way back there in the dark world, like where I was. Like, this is nice little shortcuts. So
cool. That just reminded me of something too that I've been meaning to say the past like 2 weeks. I hate swimming in this game.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's bad.
Yeah.
The thing that really was a little annoying too, it was the end of the dungeon was when I missed the key and then I had to swim up current in a dungeon. That was annoying.
Yeah, and you need to get to that little like one chest in the middle, and you're like trying to avoid the enemies.
And like these like water skimmer bugs can like move fast as lightning. It was tedious.
Yeah, I feel ya.
And lastly, because we did talk about the hammer last week, we talked about using it to explore more of the world. I went back to the bridge next to the Tower of Hera in the Light World.
Okay.
On Death Mountain.
Oh, right.
Slammed those things down. Explored a little bit. Saw an entrance to something towards the right. I went in, and then the dungeon music started playing, and I saw like 1F or BF. That's when I got overwhelmed, and I left.
Good call. Good call. Okay.
And I was in the light world at that point, so I didn't know if that was like a way to get to a dark world dungeon, but I couldn't get back to the dark world where I was, so I couldn't look at the map. But I'm assuming that it's a dungeon.
Yeah.
Okay.
You probably don't want to go there at this point.
Okay.
That's what I mean though about like how this game like you can go to dungeons out of order and like do some stuff. Like it's very possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny though. You would get mucked if you went there.
I think I did. I think I tried a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, I should not be here."
Yeah, you are not ready yet.
No. But that's the state of the adventure this week. So, nice. What do we do next week?
What are we doing next week? I believe we will be doing the third dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of stuff before the third dungeon. Some like little stuff you have to do. Because obviously, like you've seen the map, it's in Kakariko, so you will be figuring that one out. We may double up next week. We might.
Okay.
I will check and then I will let you know. But yeah, keep on keeping on for the most part.
Question for you, quick.
Yep.
So, just because I feel like at this point the game isn't giving me a super strong direction in terms of like how it introduced its world. I think, on purpose or not, I think the Dark World is much more of like trial by fire kind of.
Yeah.
So far. So, how do you recommend exploring the Dark World? Because I feel like when I do go to explore, I just keep finding myself blocked off, and like I'm slowly finding more routes with new items or stuff like that. So like constantly hitting dead ends is a little frustrating, but it seems like now it might not be based on what we were talking about.
Yeah. I think number one is like go to places in the light world and then warp and see what happens, because I think you can get to some places that like may be blocked off to you right now by just going there in the light world and just warping. Like you'll just get there. I think that's by and large how it should work out for you.
Okay.
So definitely be doing that. Definitely just go back to spots that like were things in the light world, because usually there's stuff there in the dark world, and like it's different now. It usually is more than just like, oh, it's an item shop now. Usually there's like characters and little upgrade trees and things like that you should be on the lookout for. That would be my number one recommend. And also, before the next dungeon, I think there is an upgrade that you almost need to get for this dungeon. Like, it's optional. The dungeon is much harder if you don't get it, so I think you should keep a lookout for that. I might just send it to you. I'm not sure, because it's a little obtuse.
Okay.
This is a game from 1991, so I would recommend doing that. I would recommend just like keeping in mind what you see, because usually it's like any Zelda game. Usually you come back to something with items later, and you got it. Like you're gonna be able to progress. So keep an eye out for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm already thinking now, because when I did leave off, I wasn't thinking of places I remembered in the world where the hookshot could be applicable, but now I specifically am thinking of one bridge that may have fallen apart that I think the hookshot will help me with. So
yeah,
I'll keep that in mind. But DJ, thank you for guiding me through this game. It's been very helpful so far. So where can the listeners or viewers find you?
You can find me at DJ_Gillard on Twitter. I'm just hanging out there for the most part. You can find my Star Wars podcast at the Cantina Conversation, or no, at Cantina Convo on Twitter. Cantina Conversations is the actual name of the show. So you can find that on any podcast service of your choice. We got Clone Wars coming up this week. We'll be recording. The episode's going to be late this week, but we're recording a Clone Wars kind of like, me and my other friend finally watched it for the first time. So that will be a fun one for sure.
Nice. I am in season 3 currently.
Ooh, we will talk about that after the show.
Yeah, I'm loving it. So, links to all of DJ's stuff is in the description, as well as my info at Chris and Buckley on Twitter and Instagram. This show is available a multitude of ways. YouTube.com/joyclicks is where you can go if you're seeing the gameplay of my adventure for the week, or our two faces. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a variety of other podcast services. If you look up Master Quest, Star Wars is on the brain. Master Quest or Joyclicks, you should find it. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you enjoy the show, rating it and leaving a review would be very helpful, and we would appreciate it very much if you enjoyed the show.
Thank you.
But that's going to do it for this week. I'm excited to play more. And take us out, DJ.
All hail the Helmosaur King.
See ya.